What's good, boys? It's been a minute. Looking a little rough, but my girl likes the scruff, you feel me? I haven't made a video in a long time. Obviously. Not much has changed for me, but you know. Still big buff. Still Aki as ever. What? Stay in the gym, you know that. Wanted to talk about something recent that came out because I do try to make this a gaming channel, even though I don't upload on it anymore. But I think everyone knows what's going on this week. Let's talk about Redfall. What an embarrassment. And I really want to give my thoughts on it because I just finished playing it. You're probably like, just finished playing it? What do you mean? It just came out yesterday. Yeah, I just finished playing it for my own time's sake. So I have 6 hours and 33 minutes is what my Xbox stats told me. 6 hours and 33 minutes of playing time into Redfall. After that, I stopped the game and I deleted it as quickly as I could. Woo, it's a great day to be an Xbox fan. Oh, wow. This game is a disaster. Redfall is not my most anticipated Xbox exclusive. Obviously, I think we all know what that game is. Hopefully coming out later this year. Starfield, yes. But before that Bethesda published game, although this is not a Bethesda developed game, Redfall is still a game that they published through Arcane Studios, one of the newly acquired studios from Microsoft and Xbox. It is a day one Game Pass release. Very thankful for that. Really awesome that they put out all their exclusives day one on Game Pass for Game Pass subscribers, just so that you don't have to spend $70 to $100 on pieces of dog shit like this. And as an Xbox gamer with a Series X, this is definitely one of my most anticipated games of the year. I think it was definitely my top 3. Let's say that. Yeah, Game Pass subscribers have been waiting for this to come out. Xbox gamers have been waiting for this to come out to compete, or try to compete with PlayStation. And hopefully we'd have a heavy hitter on our hands before Starfield even comes out. So I'm sure you've heard all about it. You've seen all about it. Performance issues, bugs, performance issues on a Series X. I've seen that on PC. It's even worse. Crashes. I mean, everything that's on Series X is carried over to PC. Plus crashes, and that's insane to me. I know PC ports are never going to be perfect because nowadays games are always going to be optimized for console, but my god, even on console, it's insane how bad this game runs. It's bad enough that they couldn't even release it at 60 frames per second. My iPhone is recording me in 60 frames per second as we speak. I can't even play a video game in 2023 above 30 frames per second. Let's get that clear. This game at release is at 4K 30 FPS. Where's the 30 FPS? No, man, it's more like 20 to 25. And at times it's like 10. Yes, it's that bad. It's not often, but you see it. Trust me. As for how the game looks, it's not horrible. It looks like an Arcane Studios game. If you're familiar with the Deathloop art style, Dishonored 2, Blase, it's that kind of game. More so carried over from Deathloop, as that's their more recent game. The art style is nice. The graphics are very decent. They're very good. Sometimes. But then that's where it stops. Texture popping is very bad. And I mean very bad. Draw distance, my god. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look at just how bad it really is. And as you can see, an enemy just disappeared right in front of our very eyes. But yeah, let's take a look at that distant house right in front of us for just a second. Look at the windows again and look at the door. Just notice. Notice how we can see right through the house, okay? You might think this is some minor glitch, but no. This happens a lot. Throughout every single town you go through, almost all of them, you will see this happen. Where if you'll look again, the doors and windows are missing. And there have been times where I've walked through these towns and I've mistaken them for buildings you can walk through. But no, you cannot go inside most of these houses. The draw distance in this game is just awful. And the performance issues are out of hand when it comes to this. It's disgusting. Texture popping and draw distance issues in 2023 on a map as small as it is in Redfall should never be an issue. Ever. I understand that you're always traveling on foot, but this is a small map that you play on, surprisingly small. The amount of shit that pops up and doesn't pop up in the distance is unacceptable. On next gen, it's unacceptable. Now, obviously, Arcane does not make the most realistic looking characters or settings in the gaming world. Yes, they used Unreal Engine, but it's not like it's gonna be Frostbite engine level graphics, you know? Most of their characters look like they come out of the fucking Lorax, okay? Animated Illumination movies. I'm not gonna hold them for that, okay? But Jesus Christ, be consistent. The poppin' in this game, dude. Every time you every time you fast travel into the main hub of the game, the fire station, everything around you looks like a muddled mess. It looks like a damn PS1 game. Am I playing Final Fantasy VII, the original, or am I playing Redfall in 2023? Which is it? Please. Now, as for the frames per second, that's not really consistent either. Obviously, I mentioned it earlier, but it's not even like they drop at the worst times. It's just super random. You'll be walking through one of the towns, climbing a building or something, and then boom, 10 frames. Like what? You'll be doing one of the little mini boss battles, fighting that, and it's fine. It might drop to a little 25, you know, but then it's not bad. It's just, it happens at very weird moments, and it's really ugly. And then there are times when it will happen during a fight, like with some of the human enemies. I don't know, maybe it has to do with how many moving objects are on the screen, and how they couldn't optimize that is beyond me. But it's just this game's optimization for the Series X is insane. I mean, I can see why they couldn't release it at 60 at launch. Because they shouldn't have launched this, period. This should have taken them like another year, I think, at the very least. This should have never came out the time that it did. Oh, now since I'm talking about the performance issues, it could also be a good time to mention the numerous bugs throughout the game, but I think I'm gonna talk about the gameplay first before I try to get into that, to try to mention the combat and AI, of course. Now, the gunplay is somewhat similar to what you would see in Deathloop. Very standard first-person shooter gameplay. Now, your arsenal of weapons in Redfall aren't bad. You have your very standard pistols, assault rifles, shotguns, sniper rifles, as well as flare guns. And there's even some vampire killing weapons as well, like this big UV beam that you can carry around, where if you flash it enough at a vampire, he will become petrified and turned it into stone for you to shoot or melee smash to death until he shatters into stony pieces. Or this thing called the stake launcher, which is actually kind of cool, but insanely OP. Not balanced at all. A stake is required to kill vampires effectively and immediately. If you bring them down to 0 health with any other regular weapon, they will not die, and you will have to use a stake to finish them off. But with the stake launcher, they die instantly. So that's kind of cool. but they're actually so unbalanced that when used against pretty much all the mini bosses and main story mission bosses in the game, it'll only take like 3 hits, maybe 4, to kill them off, and the stake launchers I've gotten only hold a clip of 3 stakes per reload. And that takes a boss out so quickly it's not even funny. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going? Hey guys.
Now this is pretty much an example of one of those mini bosses being taken down almost instantly by the stake launcher. So boom, I hit it before it even teleported. Now it is in the downed state. Basically you have to get to the vampire quick enough to put a stake in it for them to die before they can regenerate their health. And as you can see, it didn't get to her quick enough, but I'm going to show it one more time. She comes up to me. Boom. So I pretty much one-shotted her, and this is like this for every other mini boss and boss in the game. It can either take 1 to only 3 of these stakes to kill them before you have to actually kill them yourself, and they're really overpowered. Yeah.
There are not just vampire enemies, there are also human enemies, which are a bunch of cultists that praise this vampire god in the midst of this vampire apocalypse going on in the town of Redfall. And then there's also these private military contractors called Bellwether that are in the town as well to try to clean things up and have them isolated off from the rest of the country. And all these human enemy types are actually who you're going to be fighting for most of the game, rather than the vampires, which was the main attraction of this game, killing vampires. And in my opinion, they make up for about half the reason why the gunplay is not very good at all. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'd rather say that vampires also make up for half that reason. You have auto-aim automatically entering the game. You can turn it off, but the auto-aim is literally aimbot. That, and even if you have that off, there's no recoil whatsoever. Literally. And sometimes shooting some of the guns can feel like shooting a pellet gun, if you will. And then actually hitting enemies with these guns just does not feel satisfying at all either. It's like a very generic RPG shooter with very, very basic shooting mechanics. And Deathloop felt a lot better to play than this. And in my opinion, that game wasn't even that great. Now you also have abilities that are unique to your character, and all 4 characters that are to choose from in the character selection screen before you head off into the main game. There's Jacob, which is the guy I chose, voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, the guy that plays Sasuke, Spider-Man, and Peter Parker in the Spider-Man PS4 games. And then there's Layla, some other guy, and some other girl. I'm sorry, I couldn't really tell you because I just don't care enough. And I also don't care enough to try to go back and replay the game with these different characters because the game is simply not good enough. And these different abilities that those characters have do not make that big of a difference or are much of a deal breaker for me to want to do that. So think of the abilities you have like Apex. You have your normal ability that you can use pretty often, which in this game you actually have 2 of them that are unique to your character that you unlock throughout the very beginning of the game. And then you eventually unlock your ultimate, which you build up over time, and it's supposed to be pretty powerful for you to use against the enemies in the game. Now here's the real issue with the gameplay and combat. The enemies in the game. Sometimes when I see gaming critics talk about how there's a lot of quote-unquote brain-dead AI in some video games, whether they're single-player shooters or RPGs or whatnot, the term that I hear a lot is brain-dead AI. Never in my life of playing video games have I ever seen brain-dead AI like I have in Redfall. Jesus Christ.
Now this right here is a truly wonderful display of this game's combat artificial intelligence. So as you can see, this man right here is walking up to me to engage in armed combat, as you can see, and so far he hasn't done anything. He's just looking at me. Now he's walking backwards in place while his squad mate shoots at me. Now I'm gonna blow him up. He finally shot and he completely missed, and I'm gonna kill that guy right there. So yeah, this actually happens more than half the time. Sadly, enemies will watch you just do what you do, and their aim is also very awful. And you cannot justify this in the hardest difficulty either, because they're also very bad on the hardest difficulty. It's embarrassing, honestly. And actually, as a matter of fact, I'm sure y'all know who Moist Critical is. Charlie, Penguin Zero on YouTube. He uploaded a video of him playing Redfall, and I didn't encounter this, but he was fighting vampires, and he was standing behind numerous objects, blocking the vampires' narrow path, I suppose, but they could easily walk around them or teleport to him. And they didn't. They just ran in place and ran into the object he was standing in front of. So yeah, the AI in this game is horrendous. Another fun thing is apparently if you die during a boss fight for whatever stupid reason, and you respawn at your safe house or your base or whatever, and you go back to find that boss you were fighting, apparently, as you can see there, their health will not regenerate. Their health will be the same as it was when you died. I literally just went back and one-shotted the guy, and that was it. So that's awesome.
And one really quick thing to mention while that part about the boss's health is brought up is the fact that this game is always online. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why the boss's health won't regenerate, because it's always an online lobby. And it's kind of seen as an ongoing, like, live server, and which it doesn't make sense to me why the boss's health won't regenerate anyway. The developers definitely should have made that a mechanic, a basic mechanic of the game. They advertised this game to be a single player or co-op experience. I specifically remember in the trailer, play solo or with friends, solo or co-op. If I can play solo, then why does this have to be a mandatory online experience? I can't even pause the game, dude. The quick resume feature on Xbox is basically rendered useless because of this. You can't even come back to the game. You have to restart the whole thing and boot it back up just to get back in a lobby. It's bullshit.
But yeah, back to this game's very astutely aware AI system. Yeah, so as you can see, I just killed that guy in front of me and no one on that bridge noticed. There's this guy over here who was the closest one to him as well, and he didn't even question that he was laying dead on the floor. No one heard any gunshots. It's ridiculous. And then here's a clip of this game's incredible melee combat, which I mean is just hitting the right stick like any other standard first-person shooter, but as you can see, it's not fucking working. Yeah, and he fucking turned around. I just shot him. Yeah, trying to do this in stealth is when they're next or up to an object. I guess the hitbox isn't registering. Like they're not. I don't know, man. This is just dumb. And by the way, stealth in this game is non-existent. I just want you to know right now. Jacob is apparently meant for stealth, his character, and stealth was advertised in the game too. Stealth does not exist whatsoever. As you can see, I'm just crouching behind enemies and meleeing them, and these ones actually, like those last two just went fucking flying. And then here's another example of the melee not working again. I guess we can get into the bugs that this game has to offer. Yeah, this is incredibly dog shit. He just doesn't notice me until I get up and just turns around. Oh my god. And so here's one of the other bugs I encountered. So my sniper was at almost 100 ammo, and notice how it changes when I reload. This was after I refilled my ammo at a nearby supply crate. Can't really explain this one. I was so confused because I looked and I was like, what the fuck? What happened to my ammo? And I went back at the recording and Jesus Christ. And then this happened. I opened the map, right? And then boom, fucking green flashing light. Thought I had night vision goggles on. I thought a new feature in the game just appeared out of fucking nowhere, like a wild Pokemon. No, that was not the case. That's apparently very dumb glitch. I opened the map and did that again just in case, just to look. And yeah, I even looked it up to see if this was a feature in in the game, if like there's some green vampire god. But no, apparently a few people have had this issue come up, and it's just... Who at Xbox, Phil Spencer, I'm gonna fucking come for you. Who said this is ready to come out?
And last but not least, well, I guess you could say it as least. This game sucks. I'm gonna talk about the story of the game, characters and cutscenes and whatnot, before I give my final verdict. Basically, there's a disease going around, and this one girl, kind of like Ellie from The Last of Us, had certain blood that might have been able to save everybody, but it was abused so much that people turned into vampires, I guess. And each character you choose from, the 4 characters that are playable in the game, have apparently had an encounter with the vampire queen, whatever the fuck, and they gain the powers that they have for the abilities that you use in the game. Apparently you go through Redfall trying to figure out what's going on, save the town, the end. Yeah. The characters aren't memorable. The one I played as, like I mentioned earlier, Yuri Lowenthal, has a semi-country accent that is kind of ass. And if you know Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Sasuke in Spider-Man, he's a very good voice actor, and he's done many video games before. He even played extras in Horizon Zero Dawn, okay? This is not his best work. His character's not very memorable at all. They have a few clips and one-liners that are kind of corny. And the fact that his name is even tainted on this game is disgusting to think about. And the cutscenes for the story of the game are freeze frames. They are drawn and illustrated, but they're freeze frames. Nothing is animated at all. They are freeze frames with voice acting put over them. It's awful. And it's boring. Like, how is this supposed to draw you into the story? The characters aren't memorable, they don't do anything interesting. And then the NPCs that you can talk to in the game, when you walk up to them and you push X to talk, they don't even say anything. They don't say a word. You know what they do? Yeah. And I'm not joking. I'm so dead serious. That's all they do when you talk to them. What the hell? So, I tried to give this game a chance. I really did. Obviously, not having played the whole entire thing, I can't give a thorough review of everything the game has to offer. But what I can say is, when I hit the 6-hour mark, I felt a little drained. I can definitely say I wasted my time, and I do not think it's worth even finishing out at all. I'm extremely disappointed by this release. I think I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 3 out of 10. If it has a few redeeming qualities, maybe, and I'm sure you can find some enjoyment out of it. The fact that it's open world but has nothing to explore, it has combat that's as stale as old bread, and AI that has no more sense than a 6-month-old baby, and a story that's about as attention grabbing as an action movie with no good action. Now, before I end the video off, I do want to say that I really hope Starfield, when they plan to release it in the month that they say they are, this fall, I'm praying that it's in a state to be released, because it has happened with Star Wars Jedi Survivor recently, which I do still plan to buy. It kind of happened with Hogwarts Legacy, but luckily that game was redeemed by its good quality and its quick fixes. And now it's happened with Redfall, and Xbox is in a very bad state right now. I do want to say that I am not a big fan of patch culture. Straight up. Patch culture, in my opinion, is kind of ruining gaming, and has been ruining gaming for a few years now. Releasing games in a state that's not ready to be played, and depending on a day one patch for it to be fixed, and several patches to be released then on out from that day one release. Battlefield 2042, Cyberpunk, I'm sick of it. And of course I'm always gonna love video games. I don't think that's ever gonna change, but it is sad to see, you know, where gaming has kind of come nowadays, and to see games like this be released. And I'm gonna be honest, I think even if the game did run fine, it didn't have all these issues, I think it would still be mediocre, but it would run a lot better than this. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I'm gonna buy Jedi Survivor soon, and hopefully Hogwarts Legacy after that. I kind of want to do reviews on those games, and I kind of want to see if I want to get back into uploading again, because this was kind of fun to do, ranting about this abomination. But this was fun. Yeah, that's my verdict. 3 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. It's been your boy. Don't touch the AC. I'll see you guys.